Hare Krishna.
Done.
Yes.
I'll make you host.
Yes.
And then bye. Done.
Yes.
I'll make you host.
Yes.
And then bye. Done.
Yes. Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you for today's grooming session. So let's start with prayers. So Dhanlakshmi Mataji and Koda Mataji, can you unmute and chant?
Sure.
Purna Mataji, that works. Om Namo
Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Thank you. Om Ajnanatimirandasya
Jnananjana Shalakaya
Jnananjana
Chakshur Unmilitam Hena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Hena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadanti Swapadantikam.
Namo
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine
Namaste
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyama Pachatya Deshatarine
Jai
Jai
Shri Krishna
Chaitanya Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda Shri
Advaita
Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna.
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna
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 Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare,
Hare
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 Rama,
Rama
Hare Rama
Rama,
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Thank you. So, Dhanlakshmi Mataji or Komoda Mataji, in one line or something, can you summarize or say something what you liked from yesterday's class?
Mataji, yesterday class. Mataji, language is problem. Maya in telling Maya's Mataji.
Your own language also. You speak which language?
Kannada, Mataji.
Yeah, you can speak Mataji. I can understand Kannada, but I can't speak much. So.
Mataji, ಅದೇ ಈಗ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಎಲ್ಲದರ ಕಾರಣ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಈಶ್ವರ ಪರಮಃ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಸಚ್ಚಿದಾನಂದ ವಿಗ್ರಹ ಅನಾದಿರಾದಿರ್ ಕಾರಣಂ ಸರ್ವ ಕಾರಣ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಕೃಷ್ಣನೇ ಎಲ್ಲದರ ಕಾರಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಮಾತಾಜಿ.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice, wonderful point. Yes, 19th shloka was saying that. Dhanlakshmi Mataji, you want to say something?
As Komoda said, Krishna. So when the baby is in the womb, so they were in Maya. So again after they came outside, so again they will come into this Maya, and so many people were pampered, and again they will come to, I mean, what I need to say. So they will attract by this Maya, and again the life cycle is routine.
Mm. Yes.
So like that, this Maya is surrounded by the human. So for that, we need to always stick to Krishna.
Yes.
And
Wonderful.
chanting the Maha Mantra also, Mataji.
Yes. Correct. Wonderful. Thank you, both of you. So now we will continue with the prayers, because these are all the soul, the Jiva's prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead during which month? From 7th to 10th month. So the Jiva is now very much worshipping the Lord, because we understood that the Jiva remembers his past lives and its suffering, and even in the mother's womb it is suffering, right? So Bhagavatam says that the child is suffering, and but the rest of the world thinks that it is an enjoyable thing. Everything is enjoyable when the child is formed. Like, they think that it is enjoyable, but Bhagavatam says that when it is enjoyable is that when the child becomes a devotee of the Lord, when he understands his constitutional position, right? So now the child understood, because in the womb the child understands its constitutional position, so it starts worshipping the Lord by saying that you are the supreme, you are the shelter of everyone, you are the Lord of even Maya, so you know about past, present and future, but please protect me, please save me from this. And even last Friday we saw that how the soul was grateful for the condition he was put in this mother's womb, because only as Sugna Vrinda Mataji was saying yesterday, right? As only we have only 4 lakhs of human species, right? So so that much of pious thing we have to do to become a human. So the baby in the womb, they are all very very lucky, they are all very very, they have done so much of pious work, they have done so much of devotion, so the remaining part of the devotion they have to complete, right? So they are they that's why they have taken this human form of birth, right? And so and for Mother's Day, you people are giving them the gift of Krishna consciousness, and from next year you can see your child doing something for you, right? Like after 1 or 2 years, and then now we will see what happens. So what happens to the soul after this prayers, and what kind of prayers is still pending now. Lakshmi Mataji, can you chant?
Yes, Mataji.
Tasmat aham vigata
Sorry. Tasmat aham vigata
viklava udarishya
viklava uddarishyam
atmanam ashu tamasaha
atmanam ashutamashah
suhritatmanaiva
suhrut atmanaiva
bhuyo yata vyasanam
bhuyo yatha vyasanam
etat anekarandram
etat anekarandram
mame bhavishyat upasadita
mame bhavishyat upasadita
Vishnupada.
Vishnupada.
Kumada Mataji, can you read the
Ah,
translation?
Mataji. Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, without being agitated anymore, I shall deliver myself from the darkness of nescience with the help of my friend. Clear consciousness simply by keeping the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu in my mind, I shall be saved from entering into the wombs of many mothers for repeated birth and death. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The miseries of material existence begin from the very day when the spirit soul takes shelter in the ovum and sperm of the mother and father. They continue after he is born from the home, and then they are further prolonged. We do not know where the suffering ends. It does not end. However, by once changing his body, the change of body is taking place at every moment, but that does not mean that we are improving from the fatal condition of life to a more comfortable condition. The best thing, therefore, is to develop Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated,
Upasadita
Upasadita Vishnu Padaha. This means realization of Krishna consciousness, one who is intelligent by the grace of the Lord and develop Krishna consciousness is successful in his life because simply by keeping himself in Krishna consciousness, he will be saved from the repetition of birth and death. That continue, Mataji.
Dhanalakshmi Mataji, can you read? Is that
Ye-
fine?
Yes, Mataji. Yeah. The child prays that it is better to remain within the womb, the darkness and be constantly absorbed in Krishna consciousness, then to get out and again fall a victim to the illusory energy. The illusory energy acts within the abdomen as well as outside the abdomen, but that one should remain Krishna conscious, and then the effort of such a horrible condition cannot act unfavorably upon him. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one's intelligence is his friend, and the same intelligence can also be his enemy. Here also the same idea is repeated. Suhrudat, Suhrudat Manaiva. Friendly intelligence, absorption of intelligence in the personal service of Krishna, and full consciousness of Krishna always are the path of self-realization and liberation. Without being unnecessarily hesitated, if we take to the process of Krishna consciousness by constantly chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The cycle of birth and death can be stopped for God. It may be questioned herein how the child can be fully Krishna conscious within the womb of the mother without any paraphernalia. Sorry, Mataji. Paraphernalia. With which to execute Krishna consciousness. It is not necessary to arrange for paraphernalia to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. The child wants to remain within the abdomen of its mother and at the same time wants to become free from the clutches of Maya. One does not need any material arrangement to cultivate Krishna consciousness. One can cultivate Krishna consciousness anywhere and everywhere, provided he can also think of Krishna. The, the Mahamantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare can be chanted even within the abdomen of one's mother. One can chant while sleeping, while working, while imprisoned in the womb or while outside. The Krishna consciousness cannot be checked in any circumstances. The conclusion of the child prayers is, let me remain in this condition, although it is very miserable. It is better not to fall a, Mataji, can you please scroll up?
Yeah.
Fall a victim to Maya again by going outside.
Thank you, Dhanalakshmi
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna
And
Mataji.
thank you so much. So here, now the soul is praying to the Lord that so he wants now the deliverance from this birth, death, disease, and old age, which means he wants to completely surrender himself to the Lord. So he says that without again and again, agitated here means like again and again doing the same thing, suffering, everything we are doing, right? So it is again and again. I don't want to get agitated again and again. So I want to deliver myself from the darkness of nations. So darkness of nations is this material world with the help of my friend, clear consciousness. So what is consciousness? So we are all living, right? We are all in this world. So what is consciousness means? Consciousness means to be in the present, to be knowing, to be aware of things. I means I should know who am I, right? Like if someone has some mental problems, like if he is not able to recognize him, then we say that his consciousness is not proper, right? So that we say that like he's not in a proper this thing to identify himself. So consciousness means our clear understanding, right? The clear understanding means what it is. We should know who we are, we should know who the Lord is, and we should know our relationship with the God. If we know these three things, then our consciousness is clear, which means that we are in the path of spiritual beginning, like aham brahmasmi. That is the first statement to understand. Like what are we? We are not this body. Aham brahmasmi means I am the soul, right? So this is the first understanding. This is the first understanding towards the spiritual things, right? So here the soul, the baby in the womb is praying that with the help of this clear understanding that you are the Lord and I am your servant, and please, with this consciousness, he prays that I worship the lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu in my mind, and uh, so he says that please Lord, please save me from again and again from this birth, right? Repeated birth and death. So here Prabhupada is saying that we every day our body is changing, right? Like, and from our childhood also we keep on changing. So what is the change we have? Like Bhagavad Gita explains that in 2.13 as dehino asmin yatha dehi kaumaram yavvanam
Kaumaram
jara.
Yavan.
Yes. So in that shloka, it says that the body changes every now and then at the death it takes a new body, right? So the change is constant. Like we can see ourselves how we were in your childhood photos, at the time of our birth. Then we keep on growing, right? So the change is always there. But what happens is that we are seeing quite from some time that what are the things that were undergone by the child in the womb, right? So the child understood that after this I'm going to suffer only. Why suffering? It does not mean that we are going to do anything to the child, but the outside material, the material world itself is a place of suffering, because Krishna calls it dukkhalayam, and Krishna also calls it ashashvatam. Dukkalayam is a place of misery. Ashashvatam means it is temporary, right? So the child knows that every step, because of its past experience, he understands that now if I go out also, I'm going to suffer. So Prabhupada here says that how we can avoid this suffering. So Prabhupada says that we can avoid this suffering only by being in Krishna consciousness. So what we have to see in Krishna consciousness, or what is Krishna consciousness according to us? Like what do we mean by Krishna consciousness is that here even the Lord is not saying that leave everything and just do my worship and all. So Krishna consciousness means doing a work at the same time you have to do your bhakti, you have to remember the Lord. That is Krishna consciousness. Okay? So when we teach the child from the very beginning this art of remembering Krishna at every stage of life or every point of time, in the morning we can ask them to chant, in the afternoon before going to school, if they say Narsama prayer, or if they come and do this pranam to the Lord and then they go to school, and before eating, if they pray and then eat. So before doing any activity, if we remember Lord, that is Krishna consciousness. So when the child is in that consciousness, what happens is that it will not be affected by the external pressures. Because we know what is the world outside, right? Like there are a lot of problems. So how to handle this? So the only way to handle is to be in Krishna consciousness, because we know that we are not the enjoyers. We know that Krishna is the supreme and he is there to help us at any point of time, right? If we say Ambarish Maharaj, right? Ambarish, I hope you all know Ambarish Maharaj's story. So when Ambarish Maharaj was waiting for Durvasa Muni, that you all know, right? Ambarish Maharaj's story.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, fine. So to cut short it, what happened when uh, the ghost which was taken from Durvasa Muni's hair, when the Brahma Rakshasa was coming out, Ambarish Maharaj was not fearful, right? Ambarish Maharaj was not afraid and he was not running here and there to save his life. He knows that the Lord is there for his protection. And what happened immediately? Who came to protect him?
Krishna, Mataji.
Krishna in the form of
Mataji, Mataji, repeat, you tell Mataji question.
yeah. So Krishna in the form of whom came to help Ambarish Maharaj? Sudarshan Chakra, right?
Sudarshan Chakra.
Yes. Sudarshan Chakra. He came as Sudarshan Chakra, and he killed that Brahma Rakshasa also, and at the same time the Sudarshan Chakra was chasing Durvasa Muni everywhere. So he was trying to hide here, there, everywhere, but no. Ito Narsamma, Pato Narsimha. Yato Yato Yami, Tato Narsamma. So wherever he was running, he was not able to be saved by he was not spared. So he went to Lord Brahma, he went to Lord Shiva, and then he went to even Lord Vishnu. So Vishnu also said that, no, my devotees are everything to me. When something happens to my devotees, even I am helpless. So then he gave the solution that go and ask forgiveness to Ambarish Maharaj, and then your life will be saved. So then Durvasa Muni comes back to Ambarish Maharaj, and then he begs forgiveness, and then the Sudarshan Chakra goes back. Okay? So, and it is said that in a devotee's house, it comes in ninth canto. So, one of my Mataji who explained us says that whoever is a devotee of the Lord um, asks his Sudarshan Chakra to protect that house from all evil things. So she says that Tulsi Maharani is there, Sudarshan Chakra, Narsingh Dev, all of them always gives us protection. So there is nothing for a devotee to get afraid of or feel like what will happen in my appraisal or what will happen to the studies. Whatever they do, they'll be doing their best thing. And whatever Krishna does will be the best for them. So the child, when it has this intelligence, when he has this consciousness, then he will not be disturbed by whatever comes in the outside world. And then the child also prays that it is better to remain within the womb of darkness and be constantly absorbed in Krishna consciousness than to get out and again fall a victim to the illusory energy. So now even the child was saying it's suffering, right? From shloka number, I think so 11 or 7. It started and then it was, now also it was explaining its suffering. But then also he's saying that this suffering in my mother's womb is much better than the suffering from the outside world. So, and it is requesting the Lord, please let me stay in my mother's womb, right? And if you know, like, you know who's Shukadev Goswami?
Son of Vyasadeva, Mataji.
Yes, very nice. He's the son of Vyasadeva. And he was the one who told Srimad Bhagavatam to Parikshit Maharaj when Parikshit Maharaj was cursed by the Brahmana boy. So this Shukadev Goswami, when he was in his mother's womb, it had been long time that the delivery didn't happen. So all of them were waiting because they were not knowing why this child is not coming out of the womb. So then even Lord Brahma, everyone came, and then the Lord assured the baby in the womb that even if you come out of it, so the Lord comes and says that, please come out of the womb. It has been a long time, so you have to come out of the womb. But Shukadeva Goswami inside his mother's womb said that, no, I don't want to come out of it, because when I come out of this material world, it has Maya, so I'll be into the Maya. So I don't want to do this. I want to remember you only. So then the Lord assures that even if you are in this material world, you will not be affected by the qualities of this material world. You will be always pure. So then Shukadeva Goswami takes birth, right? That's why this is said, is that it is such a glory of Shukadeva Goswami, because the Lord assures him you will not be affected. So such a person is reciting this Bhagavatam. So we can understand the purity of this Bhagavatam, and whatever words is given in this Bhagavatam is the purest of the pure, because it has come from the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami. So now here the child is also having the same prayer, but there is some difference, right? Shukadeva Goswami is a very, very pure soul, and he takes birth only for some reason. But our children, we, all of us, are conditioned. We are trying to get away from this conditioned soul. So we don't have that thing to ask the Supreme Lord to come, and we come out of our own will and wish. It's not possible, right? But the child has its own desire. It wants to stay inside the mother's womb, because he feels that is a protected environment to remember the Lord. So that's what this paragraph tells about that I don't want to get into the Maya. So he prays that, let me please come out of this. So he says that even in this suffering, I'll be chanting this Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I'll be chanting this, I'll be remembering the Lord, but I don't want to come out of it. So, and Prabhupada here explains that this is a wonderful thing. Like people may question, how can one worship the Lord? Because there is always the saying that you should worship the Lord with the paraphernalia. Paraphernalia is the objects with which we worship, right? Like the charmer, the peacock, this thing, like the aarti plate, right? The diyas, agarbatti, and the bell, or like there are a lot of paraphernalia to worship the Lord. We could see all these things in the temple, right? So so how the child in the womb can do this Krishna consciousness? How can the child pray that I'll always worship your lotus feet without any of these items? How can the child perform his devotional services? So here Prabhupada explains that devotional service does not mean that you have to do all these things. Devotional service means simply remembering the Lord, chanting his holy names. And chanting does not need any time, place, circumstance, nothing. You can chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra anytime, any place, in any you can even chant while you're cooking, while you're eating, while you are in your bathroom also you can chant. So the Lord's name and Lord are not different. So you can always remember the Lord by glorifying. So for chanting, your mouth is there, and it's not even needed that you have to chant louder. You can chant inside your heart. You can chant louder. When you are going on the bus, you can chant. So Krishna consciousness or chanting is very, very easy. So you can perform it, and with way easily. And I request all of you to chant, because even in during the time of your delivery, it will help. Like the meditation you are doing, the chanting you are doing will make the delivery easier, and it will give that right consciousness when the child is taking birth also. Because at the time, in the coming shlokas we can see, right? Yesterday Sugna Vrinda Mataji also explained like how the child is taking birth, so how it forgets. So when we keep on repeating the same thing, the child will never forget these things, and it will be added advantage for the kids, so that they will always remain in Krishna consciousness. So even though the child wants to be in the mother's womb, so let's see what Krishna says to the child, what happens to the child. Kumula Mataji will repeat.
Yes, Mataji.
Kapila Uvacha.
Kapila Uvacha.
Evam Kritam Matir Garbe.
Evam Krita Matir Garbe.
Dashamasyastuvan Rishihi.
Dasamasyastuvan Rishihi.
Sadhya Shipati Avachinam.
Sadhya Shipati Avachinam.
Prasutyai Sutimarutaha.
Prasuthai Stuti Marutaha. Translation.
Yes, ma'am. Lord Kapila continued, the 10-month-old living entity has these desires even while in the womb. But while he thus extols the Lord, the wind that helps parturition propels him forth with his face turned downward so that he may be burned.
So Kapila Muni, the Lord Kapila is now saying that by this, till that prayer, so the prayers are being done, but by that time, the right time to take birth had come for the child. So from this, we understand that the child is going to take birth now. How it takes birth? This is what Kapila Muni is telling here, that what happens is that the air surrounding it, right? There are different types of air, but in the previous shlokas, we have seen that there will be one air which will be circling around the womb, right? So what happens is that at that time, the air will blow very fast, and because of that air, the child turns upside down in the womb. Like in the 7th or 8th month, Prabhupada said that during 7th month or something, when you can see that if it's a boy, the head will be on your right side. If it is a girl, the baby's head will be in the left side. So this is the test we can do without going to doctor. But what happens is the child will be in the horizontal way, right? So at the time of delivery, what happens is that because the wind pushes the baby down, so it goes upside down, right? So here we can say that we saw Shukadev Goswami, right? That is one more great person called Nammalvar. Hope you would all heard him. Like he is one of the 12 Arvas of Sri Sampradaya. So they are the Vaishnava saints. So this Nammalvar also had this he was also like Shukadev Goswami. So he said that this kind of air cannot push me down. So I am not going to take birth in from this place, because once I come to this place, my this thing will also I'll be get into the Maya. So I don't want to go from this. Then again the Lord has to intervene and say that no, you will not be affected, so please take your birth and all. So we have all seen that Shatari, right, on the especially in the Balaji temple, and also when we go to Balaji temple, they used to keep the Shatari on our head, right? So the Shatari is called Shatari is the name of Nammalvar. So why he is called Shatari is that because he had conquered the air which is in the mother's womb, right? Because he was not disturbed by the by the uh, by the wind that was flowing. So he is known as Shatakopan or Shatari. That Shatari comes after his name. So those great souls have their this thing to conquer conquer this child, right? Sorry, conquer the Maya of this material world. But all of us will not have. So we have to turn upside down and we have to take birth. Yeah. Who wants to read messages? Kumada Mataji or Dhanlakshmi Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, ma'am.
Tena Vashrishta Sahasa.
Tena Vrastas. Mataji, a translation I read, Mataji.
Okay.
Okay. Tena avasrashta sahasha.
कृत्वा वा क्षीर आतुरः
कृत्वा वा क्षीरवाकृतः
विनिष्क्रामति कृच्छ्रेण
विनिष्क्रामति कृच्छ्रेण
निरुच्छ्वासो हतस्मृतिः.
निरुच्छ्वासो हतस्मृतिः.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Pushed downward all of a sudden by the wind, the child comes out with great trouble, head downward, breathless, and deprived of memory due to severe agony. Purport. The word Krachrena means with great difficulty. When the child comes out of the abdomen through the narrow passage due to pressure there, the breathing system completely stops, and due to agony the child loses his memory. Sometimes the trouble is so severe that the child comes out dead or almost dead. One can imagine what the pangs of birth are like. The child remains for 10 months in that horrible condition within the abdomen, and at the end of 10 months is forcibly pushed out. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord points out of that a person who is serious about advancement in spiritual consciousness should always consider the four pangs of birth, death, disease, and old age. The materialist advances in many ways, but he is unable to stop these four principles of suffering inherent in material existence. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you. So now, so how the child takes its birth. So how the child takes its birth is now the wind has pushed, the child has turned upside down. So we all know, right, what happens when we are pushed upside down. We will not be able to properly breathe. We'll be in so much of pain, right? The blood flows, and also the same thing the child is also encountering. And it wants to now come out because it's very difficult to be in that situation. And because suddenly it has been, because the wind blowing is also a sudden thing, and because of that the child completely forgets. Because when we are put outside, like if you all have that experience of going in that the giant wheel or something, right, it goes up and down. So if we have gone, so when we go up and then suddenly come down, what happens is that we feel something, right? So here the child is also facing the same thing, and because of that, the child becomes now breathless, and he lost his memory because it was suddenly changed to upside down. So now the baby now has to come out, right, because of this thing. And Krishna says that, oh sorry, here Kapila Muni says that, so the child is in deep agony, and so here we can see that from the birth, Krishna is teaching us that we don't have any control, right? So even the child wanted to stay in the mother's womb, but does he had any right to stay in the mother's womb? No, right? When the time of birth has to come, you have to come out voluntarily, or like with force, you have to come out. And when it is, whatever happens, we don't have any control out of it. But still we think that we are the controllers. I can do anything on my own. We can do like I can do whatever I want. So this makes no sense. This is what Krishna is teaching right from the time of our birth, right? Like because when we say no, it's very, the outside world is very this thing, so I will stay in my mother's womb and I'll do whatever. Child is not saying that I will not do anything, but I'll stay in my mother's womb. But the child is promising the Lord that I'll always remember you. But still, the Lord says, no, you had the desire before. Now go and complete your karma, whatever is left. Do bhakti, finish off all your karma, and then come to me. Right? So it's a force. So this is what we have to learn, right? Nothing is in our hand. It is the Lord's mercy only is flowing, and we are all under Lord's mercy. So when we teach, when we understand this, what happens is that we will teach our child also. Now, when you are hearing it, the child also hears this, right? The child will also hear, and he will also understand this, that we are not the Lord of here. We have to help everyone. We have to serve everyone. We have to remember Lord always. So this will help the child to grow in Krishna consciousness. So this will make their life beautiful, and they will be always, because when the child is able to remember the Lord at the time of birth, that's a wonderful thing, right? Like the child will be always able to remember him in whatever position, because this is the this is a great thing. It's a sudden movement of the child, right? And it's upside down. Immediately the Lord puts the child into upside down position, so that it comes out of it comes into this material world. So we have to do this, and if possible, you can take your mantra box or something. Even while going to delivery, you can request the doctor there, if possible, that to play that chanting box or some kirtan over there, so that the child, while taking birth also, it will remember the Lord's name. Okay. So yeah, Dhanlakshmi Mataji. Or should I read myself if you are tired?
No, Mataji, I will follow with you, Mataji.
Patito bhuvi ashran mishraha
Patito bhuvya ashvat mishraha
vishta bhur iva chestate
vishta bhut iva chestate
रोरुयति गते ज्ञाने
roro yati gate jnane
विपरीतं गतिं गतः
viparitam gatim gataha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The child thus falls on the ground, smeared with stool and blood, and placed just like a worm, germinated from the stool. He loses his superior knowledge and cries under the spell of Maya.
Thank you, Max. So here now, Hari Bol, the child has taken its birth in this material world. So we know that how the child comes, it comes with his head first, right? So head first, and then because of the sudden push by the Lord, by the wind, so it forgets whatever knowledge he had got, and like ordinary child, he cries, and then he falls under the spell of Maya. So here we all think that it's very happy. Oh, we all congratulate. We all, yes, that is wonderful. That a nice child, a child's birth is always glorious. But at the same time, we should remember that we should give this consciousness to the child right from its birth. So here, that's what, like outside people don't know what is happening with the child, right? But of course, because of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we know what is the child thinking and what the child wants, because it's not very it's very very rare, right, to understand what the child wants even inside the womb. Now you are all able to understand what is the need of the child, right? Outside we will not be able to. Even in the next coming verses, Kapila Muni will say that, like though the parents, like or the relatives of the child, they will not be able to know what the child really wants. They will be doing what they want to do with the child, right? But you people are very very lucky, because you know now what the child wants, right? And you can bring them up according to their needs. So here we can see that the child takes its birth from the mother's womb. So we'll read this last shloka and then we will end. Parachandam na vidusa
Parachandam na vidusa
pushyamano janena saha
पुष्यमानो जनेन सह
अनभिप्रेतम् आपन्नः
अनभिप्रीतम् आपन्नः
प्रत्याख्यातुम् अनीश्वरः.
प्रत्याख्यातुम् अनीश्वरः.
Kumada Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. After coming out of the abdomen, the child is given to the care of persons who are unable to understand what he wants, and thus he is nursed by such persons. Unable to refuse whatever is given to him, he falls into undesirable circumstances. Purport. Within the abdomen of the mother, the nourishment of the child was being carried on by the nature's own arrangement. The atmosphere within the abdomen was not at all pleasing, but as far as the child's feeding was concerned, it was being properly done by the laws of nature. But upon coming out of the abdomen, the child falls into a different atmosphere. He wants to eat one thing, but something else is given to him because no one knows his actual demand, and he cannot refuse the undesirable given to him. Sometimes the child cries for the mother's breast, but because the nurse thinks that it is due to pain within his stomach that he is crying, the supplies him some bitter medicine. The child does not want it, but he cannot refuse it. He is put in very awkward circumstances, and the suffering continues. Hare Krishna Mataji.
So here we always say, right, we always glorify the child's growth. So from the time it takes its birth, so even it is very we feel very very happy, we feel enjoy, we think that the child also enjoys, like when it turns upside down, when it smiles, when it starts crawling, and all those things, we see that the growth of the child is very 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 happy thing for us, right? It is a happy thing, obviously it is very happy thing for us, but for the child, you know, what is the child thinking now? See what happens to the child, what is the thinking of the child. So once the child takes its birth, what happens is that the especially even the new mothers, as mothers, we also don't know what is the child, why it is crying. We always ask our mothers, right, mama, why is he crying? Ma, what happened to him? Is he having stomach pain? So we don't understand immediately because it's new experience for us also. And many a times I remember, like when my son was like he was also at that, after immediately after his birth, even if he sneezes 2 3 times, I'll ask my mother, mama, can we go to the doctor, he's sneezing. So even if he cries more than like he if he cries for a long time, I'll say like, let's go to the doctor. So we always will be in a panic and we don't know how to handle them, right? Sometimes when here Kapila Muni says that when he is feeling hungry, others will think that he is having stomach pain, and seriously when he is having stomach pain, people think that he wants to drink milk, that's why he's crying. And there are a lot of people, others other than a family also, they'll come, they'll give their inputs, while because everyone loves child, right? Obviously they will share their own experience, like what I'm doing, like all of us will do that. So what happens is that, but what what we are doing is what the child wants, no one knows, because the child cannot experience what he wants. So Kapila Muni is saying that is the condition of the child. So though outside we feel that we are happy, the child is happy, but inside the child is not able to express, because suddenly, and he is put into a different atmosphere, right? In the beginning, in the womb, he was in a dark place, there was no one except he can hear his mother, other than him there was, he could not see anyone. So but once he comes out, he could see his relatives, he could see people around him, the atmosphere around is full of light, and the lot of changes in the surrounding also, right? Even he has to cry to get his food also, though if the child does not cry also, we won't, right? That is also a panicking thing, that wow, why he is not crying for milk, right? So the child has to do this activity by himself. While in the womb, he did not have any of this stress, right? He automatically, the nature provided everything. Krishna provided him through the mother, right? So he does not have to cry to get his food. He does not need someone to tell whether he is okay or not. So all these things in the mother's womb was quite easier. That's why the child also, the baby also prayed in the womb that please let me stay in this place. But he has to come into this atmosphere and he has to live in this material world, right? So he has to start observing, he has to start mingling with people. So this is how Krishna teaches the child in the womb. So with this, we will end the session. You have any questions or any feedback? So if there is nothing, we'll chant Hare Krishna mantra and then we will end the class. And I request all of you to chant always, because it will be helpful during your delivery, and it will help the child also to develop his consciousness. Right? Okay. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama, Hare
Rama
Rama,
Rama.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna,
संत
Hare
गौरी
Krishna,
वैष्णव वृंद
Krishna
की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो। Thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, Purnima. Though at office you attended the session. Thank you, Dhanalakshmi Mataji and Kumada Mataji. Thank you so much for reading
Thank
all
you,
the shlokas and
Hare
purports
Krishna
today.
Mataji.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sumana Mataji, for joining.